Hey guys, Eric with Patch Foundry. Excited today to announce the release of a new pack that uses the samples from this little thing right here. If you're wondering, what is this? This is a 6-voice voltage controlled analog synth in a little tiny package. It's made by Dreadbox. I got this because I use it on my session board and I needed something that had like really beefy analog tones but was really small. So I got this little bad boy. Not only does this thing sound incredible, it also has a whole bunch of cool features that I've never seen before in a desktop unit that's completely analog like this one is. Okay, so they use some MIDI in order to control some parameters, so it's not 100% analog, but who cares? It sounds so good. Now, why bother sampling something that's so small and so compact? Well, there's a couple reasons. Obviously, one, it's one more piece of gear that you would have to bring to a gig, and it's always nice to have those samples right inside your Nord without having to buy a $600 synthesizer. The second reason is that you want to have these sounds inside your Nord because you want to add the effects. When I'm using this on my session board, I've got a Big Sky Reverb, I've got a Zoya Empress Effects pedal. I have a whole bunch of different cool things that can make these come to life. If you only have this, you're going to get some really beefy analog tones, but they're going to be kind of dry. So the idea is that you sample these, you put them into your Nord keyboard, whichever one you have, and then you use the built-in effects to add a little bit of maybe stereo space, maybe some chorus, maybe some reverb. You get the idea. So I'm going to take this little thing and put it over here, and we're going to go ahead and do a demo. Okay, first things first, I have the Nymphis right here. It is just for display purposes only. I am not triggering any sounds out of this unit. It's all coming from this keyboard, the Nord Stage 3. Obviously, if you have a Nord Stage 4 or any other Nord keyboard, it's going to work great. The other thing before we get started, I have essentially two program files here that I'm going to be showing you. First one is a sample. This is what you're going to get if you have any keyboard other than the Nord Stage 3. You're going to get just the raw samples in the format that's specifically for your keyboard, and it's going to sound so dope. All you have to do is drop those samples in, and you can adjust everything inside of your specific Nord keyboard. Now, if you have Nord Stage 3, which is the one I have, you're also going to get program files and synth presets, which are going to really expand some of the sounds. That includes a bunch of different effects and things that are just going to make it sound awesome. So without further ado, let's get started. This one is supposed to sound retro. And all you're hearing is the original preset that I built using the Nymphis and then sampled. So you're getting a sample here. Now, let me show you what it sounds like with the Nord Stage 3's effects added. And then one last note, I am using my expression pedal, which you can't see, with my right foot, and I'm using that to control the cutoff. And I found that really adds a lot of interest to samples when you're using them live. And that's built in already into all the Nord Stage 3 versions. If you have other keyboards, there are ways to add it. Usually, also for the Nord Stage 3, you can use the mod wheel to do the same thing. So I can just do like this. So you get that same effect without having to rock the expression pedal with your right hand, or right foot actually. So let me show you here a few more. And just a reminder, a lot of the greatest keyboards of all time have been in mono. And for a while, I thought that might be a downside to this keyboard. It's really not. And here's why. When you create a mono signal, and I'm no audio engineer, I don't know what I'm talking about, but when you spread out a mono signal, I don't know why, but it just feels bigger. And let me show you what I mean. So same thing again, but now with some effects. To me, it just sounds so massive and good, rather than like sometimes if you start with a stereo signal and then you spread it out, I don't know why it just doesn't have the same effect. So anyway. Very basic square there. Now, obviously, the reason I sample these this way is because this is voltage controlled oscillator, meaning that it's an all analog oscillator, which is just going to have a naturally different characteristic than the built-in square that you're going to have in most of the Nord keyboards. So you can tell there's just a lot of subtleties there. Let me show you the next one. So warm and pleasant and nice. So beefy bass. Just real simple. It's got a nice full beefiness to it. There's just so much, I don't know what else to call it other than like girth with this particular keyboard. And to me, it kind of splits the difference between like a Juno 106 and like a Matrix 12, like classic analog. Watch what happens if I put on a little bit of effects on this. So it's definitely kind of in that Prophet-y, Matrix 12, Juno 106. It kind of splits the difference between all three of those, I feel like. Fun little sound there. There's so much there that you can do. That reminds me a lot of a Juno 106. Just for fun, let me show you. If you turn on this unison, that's designed to simulate a bit of the chorus on that famous 106. Let me just show you what it sounds like with that. If you have the J6 collection or J6 pack that I have released, you can definitely probably hear the similarities. While it's not the same, it's definitely kind of in that ballpark, and I kind of like it because it sits in an area that the Juno 60 can't sit, and like the OB6 is just a little bit too beefy for. That's the sample by itself. for my Euro friends, the people who have been so kind to support me over in the great European Union, that maybe is for you. By the way, I always think about my customers whenever I'm building stuff like this. Like I think about specific customers and some of the requests you have. This is one of those. So cool, Synth. The reason that I built this one is it kind of has some interesting overtones, and some of my, a couple of you all have asked about creating things that kind of moved a little bit more, and that's challenging to do without getting massive sample sizes, but I've tried to do that with a few of these. So like this is one. You can hear it swelling. And I worked really, really hard on the loop points on this. Nord makes it very challenging to set accurate loop points. So when you hold a sample down and it loops, it's hard to get that to sound natural. But I'm not kidding you, hours trying to get that better in this collection in particular. So here's another example of one that moves a lot. And then here's with the effects. The Nymphis, I think I'm saying that right, Nymphis is really cool because you can apply multiple LFOs across multiple things, and it's not super complicated to do it. So that's what you're hearing there, all that movement. Another example of that. Is this patch. You can hear multiple swells and at different times, and that's just really fun. It's challenging to sample, but a lot of fun to play. Squelchy. Another one that has a fun tail to it. You can hear that little warble at the end. So I tried to highlight that. Glittery. And then this one doesn't need much, except a nice delay. Fine. You can hear that some of that pulsing. And I'm not using the expression pedal at all on that particular part. added some drive. It's another fun one. LFO pulsing away. And here's with effects. Lots of retro vibes there. For being a small synth, there's a lot of attitude to this thing. Here's with effects. There's always movement. You can hear just a little bit of pulsing here, even though there's no effects, there's no expression pedal. So this sounds very basic, but I've found if you roll off the cutoff on this, it makes a sick bass. And it's so surprising how sometimes the simplest tone, as long as it's the right oscillator, the right filter, all of that, is what you need. Especially in like production, or if you're in like a worship environment, a lot of times like this sort of a bass sound is kind of where it's at. Again, nothing crazy. It's just so thick and full. This last one has some pulsing to it. You can hear the different LFOs affecting different samples. And that is it. And that is the complete playthrough of the N-6 synth pack for Nord keyboards. If you want to find out more or find the specific sample or preset pack for your keyboard, go to patchfoundry.com.